So this week, it's all about putting things together into a more integrated practice. For the past few weeks, we've been looking at mindfulness on the breath as a way of being present and as a way of observing distractions that pull us away from being present, coming back to our choice of focus. We've also practiced body scan as a way of relating to experience through embodied awareness. Um, Recognizing perhaps the energy or the resonance of our day-to-day life in the physical body. Today we're going to put those two together and add one more layer, which is using mindfulness of the breath to be present, using mindfulness body scan to approach things through embodied awareness, and use this as a way of observing and relating to thoughts and feelings. So if you were doing an MBSR course, this is probably around about week 4, week 5 that you would get to this point. So that's really about my introduction, and we'll get into our practice. So you can do this practice sitting, or you can be lying down. It's really up to you. Give you a minute or two while I'm introducing things to maybe find yourself a blanket or some cushions to transition yourself from the doing and getting things done world into an hour dedicated to just you and your well-being. So for the next hour, you have nowhere else to be, and you have nothing else to do except just resting in awareness. As you're taking up your posture, there's an invitation to really come into a place of stillness. But that might require, first of all, a little bit of movement. Feeling those places where the body is in contact with the bed or the chair as a way of just beginning to get grounded and to turn the attention inward. Perhaps you feel your feet, your legs, your pelvis, your back in contact with that surface that's supporting your weight. And it might be that your weight is distributed. Some places hold more weight, others just balance your posture. Just noticing those different levels of intensity. Some points of contact might be quite big, others quite small. And around this, even just noticing through embodied awareness whether you are lying or sitting, just sensing that proprioception, interoception, whether your body is upright or flat. And at this early stage of our practice, it's really just a settling in. So you might notice that residual energy of the body that's wanting to get things done, the mind that has 1,000 thoughts telling you to do things, fix things, arrange things. Seeing if we can just settle down into practice around all the legacy, that resonance of the doing and the busy, busy world. Carving out a little space of mindful presence and stillness. Just checking in with the general energy in the body. Perhaps you notice, depending on the time of day, a morning energy, an afternoon energy, an evening energy. Noticing how and where that's felt within the body today. And whatever we find, whether it's a tiredness, a restlessness, or a sense of ease and calm, just observing, dropping into that sense of being the mindful observer, curious to meet yourself and know yourself moment by moment. At the center of our embodied awareness, perhaps we notice the movement of breathing, the in-breath and the out-breath. A way of intentionally inviting a sense of moment by moment presence. Each new breath, a new moment begins. By following the breath, we just rest there in the now of the in-breath as we feel it maybe in the belly or the chest, and the now of each out-breath, that sense of letting go. And for now, if there's any thinking, anything distracting you from just simply feeling the in-breath and the out-breath, this is where we become mindful of the busy mind, mindful of how easy it is for that mind to be distracted, to wander, perhaps even the impulse to do something, to move, to fidget. So by resting our awareness on the breath, we become more embodied in our awareness and we become more aware of distraction. And so we can just practice letting those distractions go and coming back again and again to an intentional mindfulness of in breath and out breath. And of course, we can't stop the mind from thinking. That's not the purpose of our practice, but it's rather to change our relationship to thinking, the capacity to notice when we're caught up in thinking, and then to intentionally let those thoughts go and come back to feeling the in breath and the out breath. And it doesn't matter how many times our attention is pulled away. every time we notice that thinking, that restlessness, that distraction, that's a moment of coming into mindful awareness. So each distraction is an opportunity to practice and cultivate our mindfulness, and then to practice that capacity to let go of thinking and to come back to where we want our attention to be. Just simply resting without words on that physical sensation as if we're floating on the ocean, the in-breath, the out-breath. So the capacity to rest awareness on the breath allows us to find a place of stillness and calm at the center of whatever we are experiencing right now. A place where we can be grounded and centered, and where our posture and our focus on that rhythm of the breathing brings also a sense of stability and security at the center of our practice. We can come here over and over as many times as we want throughout the practice to find that anchor, that place of stability whenever we need it. Around the breathing, we begin to expand awareness to all the places in the body where that movement of breathing can be felt. If you're sitting or lying, perhaps we feel it in the arms as they rest at the side of the body, or perhaps in the shoulders or somewhere on the back through the contact with chair or bed. And keeping a certain percentage of our attention always monitoring that sense of breathing. Seeing if we can also invite a certain percentage of our attention into an awareness of our feet. Just any sort of bigger picture awareness of the feet, maybe in contact with chair, with bed, with floor. Noticing which parts of the feet are in contact with that surface. Perhaps noticing if the feet are in socks or shoes. Through sensations on the skin. Maybe open to the air. Maybe a sense of temperature. And then just being curious for any of the little details, the more subtle sensations, maybe some buzzing or tingling, pulsing. Coming up from the feet through the ankles. Resting our curiosity now into a bigger picture awareness of the legs. Perhaps aware if they're bent at the knees or straight. Perhaps aware of all the places those legs might be touching the chair, the bed. noticing any fabric, textiles, or open air that might be felt on the skin. Then going deeper, just checking in on any awareness of bones or muscles within the legs. And at this point in our practice, if any thoughts come up around what we find, just noting how the busy mind is always curious to make a comment, pleasant, unpleasant, a judgment, and then let them go. Come back just simply to knowing the legs through this layers and layers of just sensations that come and go. Knowing the sensations simply as sensations. Bringing our attention now up through the pelvis. It's probably still an awareness of the legs connected, but then this pelvis as the area that connects body to legs. Again, just bigger picture to begin with. If we're sitting, perhaps noticing how the shape of the chair affects the relationship between back, pelvis, and legs. Maybe the places where the weight of the body are supported. And if we're lying, we can feel how the pelvis contributes to the weight of the body being held and supported by that cushion or mat or bed beneath us. Perhaps also just checking in with those bones, those muscles. Then allowing the attention to come up through the spine, the ribs, the collarbones, the shoulder blades, sensing the structure of the back. Within this structure, of course, the muscles, perhaps we feel the muscles in the way that they maintain the posture if we're sitting, or perhaps just where they touch the bed if we're lying. Maybe we feel the back of the chair touching a particular part of the back, or we feel the movement of breathing. There might be a sense of temperature, humidity. And again, if there's any thoughts or judgments coming up around what we find, just noting that the mind has this natural and quite normal tendency to like, to dislike. These impulsive thoughts to judge ourselves, to judge our experience. And just as we did with our mindfulness on the breath, we notice those thoughts, let them go, and then come back to just knowing those sensations as sensations. Let's see if we can invite our curiosity now through the shoulders and down into the arms, through the arms into the hands and the fingers. Bigger picture, noticing if the arms are resting by the sides, if the hands are clasped or apart. Noticing any places where the arms or the hands are in contact with body or chair or bed. Using our embodied awareness to sense if the elbows or the wrists are bent or straight, and even bringing this down into the fingers, the hands. Tuning into the skin of the arms, the hands, the fingers, noticing possibly many different temperatures in different places. And as we come inwards through the bones, the muscles, noting any sensations there. Let's bring our attention now up through the neck, the throat, the jaw, perhaps we're aware of the bones that give the neck that solidity to hold the skull and the flexibility to articulate. Perhaps we notice the muscles around those bones. Perhaps here we might feel pulsing, or even feel the air as it comes in through the throat and leaves through the throat. Might notice if the jaw is tense or relaxed. Maybe even aware of the tongue and the teeth within the mouth. And checking in with the face, the eyes, the mouth, lips, the cheeks, the forehead, the bones of the skull, the skin and hair on the scalp. Now inviting our attention towards the chest, the heart, the belly, and coming back to an awareness of the breathing at the center of our body, the heart pumping blood around the body, the digestion and that gut feeling. Often here we feel more than just physical sensations. We get a sense of emotion, of ease and comfort, or of unease, of discomfort, and emotional as well as physical awareness. So just resting in this belly and chest and just tuning into little physical sensations or emotional feelings in this region. And for the next few minutes, if we can, doing this without words, noticing those feelings as sensations, where and how they're felt in the body. So all through this practice, we've been aware of thinking pulling us away from our embodied awareness all the time. And we've been practicing how to let go of that thinking and to intentionally keep our focus in the embodied experience. And we're going to stay resting, anchored in the body. Now, as we open to observing the busy mind, imagining perhaps watching clouds in the sky, imagining watching leaves floating down a river. And as we observe those thoughts, we might notice them like clouds. There's a dark thought, a light thought, a fluffy thought, a stormy thought, a wispy thought, maybe even a clear blue sky thought, a sunshine thought, a rainbow thought, a windy thought. We might notice how those thoughts emerge. Sometimes we watch the sky and we see clouds forming, and then we see clouds melting away. So as we observe the mind, trying to stay out of being tangled in the thought itself, but simply watching how thoughts arise, how one thought brings another, how they arise from our embodied experience or that capacity to always want to go into the future, to dwell on the past, to take us out of the present moment. But always with that capacity to unhook from the thought. Just notice, oh, future, oh, past, oh, worry, oh, judgment, oh, fantasy. And then drop back into the body again. Connect to the breathing, connect to the body before once again just returning to observe the next thought that arises, to be curious, to let that go, to come back to the body. And so for our last 10 minutes or so, just some silent practice, resting in awareness of the breathing, the body, thoughts, and feelings. As we keep noticing our thoughts, letting them go, sensing the body, we can see all these weird places that the mind goes. Sometimes it can go into worry or dark thoughts. We might even feel those emotions come up in the body. But then by returning to the breathing and the body in contact with chair or bed, we remind ourselves that right here, right now, we're stable, we're safe, we're secure. And it's just those thoughts that are creating those feelings, and those feelings are felt in the body. We can be a curious observer to how thinking can influence our mood and our sense of physical comfort or discomfort. But by letting that thought go and returning just to in breath and out breath, we can self regulate, return to the present moment before just repeating, allowing the next thought to drift in and see where that takes us, see how that feels. Let it go, come back to the now of breathing and lying or sitting grounded in the present moment. And for the last 5 minutes, we might invite some compassion around anything that we've experienced in today's practice, anything that's asking for some softness, some kindness. Just inviting that in through the breath. Breathing in some letting go, some softening, some care. Breathing out anything that we can just let go. And by resting in this embodied place of breath and body, and using this as a stable and still place to observe feelings and thoughts, we begin to become aware of this normal human tendency that everybody has to be pulled by our thoughts into the future, into the past, and how often the way we feel in the present is influenced by that thinking. Our judgments of ourselves, our feelings about ourselves, our reaction to events, and this capacity to just be aware of that, to know that this is the way the human mind works, but that they are just thoughts, and that there is a grounded place, a spacious place, a mindful place that we can drop into through the breath, through embodied awareness. This wise place that gives us a new perspective on things, a more compassionate and still place, measured, balanced, just to get to know our mind, its habits, without having to take any action on impulse. Gives us pause, space for deeper understanding, new perspectives, a more compassionate relationship to ourselves and our experience. And perhaps then space for reflection, for insight, for creativity, for wise action or wise response. So let's bring our practice here to an end, just by very gently feeling the wiggling of fingers and toes as an embodied sensation. The breathing in the body. When we're ready, we might open our eyes and take in the room around us. Bring some movement back into the body. Very gently, we'll come back to sharing our experiences, and I will end our recording right there.